Welcome to Gallery Watch. This week we get an interesting insight into the work of a local artist who specialises in a very unique side of the landscape. The landscape has always been an important part of Australian art and certainly Australian aesthetic subjectivity. So the work of Philippa Nikolinsky focuses on the intimate detail of botanical specimens ranging from fauna to plant life, and has created a body of work over 40 years. We're quite lucky to have her here in Perth, and she's granted us access to her beautiful Dalkeith studio, and Madeline will be taking us through what is an exceptional body of work.
Today we're introducing Philippa Nikolinsky at her studio. Philippa, thanks for having us today. So we're just having a look at a developing artwork.
Yes, I thought it would be very good to be able to show you how something starts, because often when you see the finished work you've really got no idea what goes into it. So what I've got here is a plant from my own garden, a tree that's growing out there, and this is the beginnings. This drawing is from that tree over there in my own garden, and it is a very complicated drawing, and you can see when you pick it, it dies within 2 days. I draw each piece that very day that I pick it and put a little bit of colour on it, and it means that it keeps life and fresh. There's this one is the one over there in the sink, and it's really fresh and new, and it's got its movement. And I keep doing this all the time. I keep using it backwards and forwards to the light box. And then you can see here to draw, and you can see what's behind and what's in front. I'm able to put it in and get in up behind, so that the front drawing stands up and there's no crossing lines. Why I do that is that with watercolour you can't rub out. And so if you rub out on the paper you get a rough paper, and so the paint doesn't sit properly. So that's why I have to do this. This is a process I developed myself over the years.
Have you been doing it?
40 plus. 40 as a full-time artist. And the other, before that, it was bringing up children and being an artist and various other things.
Wow, very talented lady.
Well, it's a wonderful life.
So how did you start your artist adventure?
Gradually. It's built up over the years. I did, with having children, 4 children, I really couldn't do it full time. But now it is a full-time occupation, and it's developed over all these years. So I work every day in here. Wonderful working space.
It's beautiful. And the artwork is very detailed, very accurate. Can you tell me how long it takes to do one piece?
That's a question I'm asked all the time. Now, to make this painting, for example, these drawings would take a day each, maybe. Then I have to draw them onto the final paper, and then I start the real work, which is the colouring, and people say, oh, you're just colouring in. But to do that also, I make a detailed colour notes. So there's the greens and the pinks, and then pick out the colours that I think I need to use by looking at the plant when it's really fresh. So if you put a little bit of the complementary colour to the red, that then when you paint that on the painting, the plant behind, it retreats that plant, so you get the three-dimensional shape of the plant. Then I've got these, which I'm going to show you. And so before it gets completely finished, I have to decide where the parrots are going to be. So I've done rough pictures of parrots, sitting behind here, hanging onto the branch there, and they've got the flowers in their beaks, and I think this one is going to be hanging on here. Every trip I make, each project, I have a field book, and you can see that where I go is all over the state. I've been doing projects everywhere. And this down here, that's Cape Arid, and that's where the latest book was done.
And how long were you there for?
Between 3 to 5 weeks at a time, and so it was a year painting. To do this would take me half a day. This would be half a day.
So this was on location?
This is what happens on location. And so there's some of it's put in under tape as well.
And then you collect the specimens on location, bring them back?
Collect the specimens, got notes, colour notes, where they were collected, when they were collected. This is another one. You can see the plant is then put behind tape, and I'll show you why this is done, and then this is the drawing of this plant and the notes. Yeah. All these are pressed specimens, but if you have a look at a pressed specimen, you try to draw it from that when you come back to the studio. These are just a photograph and a pressed specimen is kept as a record. I have to do this as part of my license requirements to pick. You're not allowed to pick wildflowers, so you have to have a license to do so, and to do that you then have to lodge the plants that you've collected, which is a lot of extra work, and I'm not a botanist.
So talking about these specimens, can I ask you, have you ever discovered a new species?
I found one last time which I thought was new. It was a black flower, but I think it's not a new one. But I have had a plant named after me, which is really rather nice. There's a little orchid up on the wall up there, Cynicula nicolinskii.
Yeah, can we have a look at it? Yes, please. Oh, wow. It's very beautiful.
It is. And it's really quite appropriate because it's a little blue China orchid, and I've done all the work on China, which I will show you then. So that was in 1998 or 9, I think. So it was really most exciting.
And who discovered it?
Professor Steve Hopper and Andrew Brown, both orchid specialists. So I'd worked with Steve Hopper for many years on several books.
What a wonderful honour.
It is. It's absolutely special. In relation, this is another field drawing done out in a similar manner to what I do here. It's so complicated, I had to put a wash on the front part so that I could see what lines were happening behind. This is what's a rough layout. So I decide from all these little bits of field drawing. Oh, there's that plant that I was telling you about, the little black plant that I thought was something new, but it hasn't yet been described, so it's happening. It looked like a Stackhausia, but I wasn't sure, so that's why I've got it in inverted commas, and that was in October 2010 that I found that at Thomas Fishery. So with all the drawings, I have where I found them, what time of year, so these all relate to various times. So there's such a lot of preparatory work to do beforehand to get that thing that looks natural. So all these works are done just for one tiny little bit in the finished painting that we'll see up there to make something look what everyone thinks is just a natural drawing, but it's taken an enormous amount of preparatory work. Pulling something apart and drawing it, you get to know the plant, you know where to put the line. So that's why all these, I have so much drawing, because I just love doing the detailed drawings of understanding the plant. It's only once you've drawn it for so long and looked at it and pulled it apart and then got it on the paper that you really understand what the plant is. Understands how it lives, how it exists, how it falls. People can bring you a piece of plant into the studio to draw, but unless you've seen it growing, seen what grows with it, seen its seed pods and the insects on it and everything else, you don't really give that plant its full glory.
And such a life you give to them. Can you tell us, there is a basis of scientific method to your work. Have you done any outside of study in science before, or is it your own discovery?
No, it's just a gradual development. And then I did a lot of black and white scientific drawings for various books where I had to do it under the microscope and learnt how to do it that way. It was just practice, practice, practice. And making mistakes. And I have made lots of mistakes.
Stay right here, because we'll be back with Philippa Nikolinsky on Gallery Watch.